What's going on, YouTube? We're back at it for another video, and today we've got a bit of news when it comes down to the overall change up of some of these weapons with this huge patch that's come in. We're going to have a multitude of different videos to come in, but we're also going to talk about some of the changes for certain primary weapons, along with what may be the new king when it comes to the ultimate primary to use on both the Terminid and the Automaton side of things. Now, starting off, the Breaker is definitely not nerfed into the ground. This is doing just fine. It's only lost 3 shells out of its total magazine capacity. You're really not going to be hurting when it comes to using this still. It is still kicking out all the damage it should be, and when it comes to the overall recoil, trust me, it may be increased, but it's not very much felt. Now, the Breaker Spray and Pray did basically get buffed into the point of being a viable option. It can actually deal damage now instead of being absurdly one of the weakest weapons that I've ever seen in most games, and it just didn't have any capability of pretty much doing anything before this. Now it truly does have light armor penetrating, but I would still say that you are better off utilizing something like the Breaker Incendiary. It's going to have an additional damage component to it and a bit better when it comes to that crowd control, considering it does apply that damage over time with the fire. Although I will say with the Breaker Spray and Pray, it was enjoyable. It did have a pretty intense look when it came about mulching through some of those enemies, considering there's so many pellets with this now. They did reduce the overall capacity of the magazine and increase the total pellets coming out of each shell, so it does have a little bit of increased damage, but overall I would still say this is one of those that is just going to be outshined by something like the Breaker Incendiary. Now, when it comes to the Punisher and the Slugger, both of these have been increased to a total ammunition count of 60 shells per maximum capacity. So don't worry about having that moment where you just don't feel like you have enough. And at the same time, the Punisher has been buffed through the roof. This is not only getting more damage to it, all the way up at 405. It may not be the top total DPS, as when it comes to overall fire rate, this still is a pump action shotgun. So in instances, the Breaker still will be able to deal a lot of that damage quicker. But now, what makes the Punisher so beneficial to anybody that will use this, and pretty much makes it the king when it comes to overall primary weapons right now, is the fact that it does have that stagger power. Basically, you can start bullying just about every unit in the game. Even a Hulk, if you hit them in the weak spot, you'll actually be able to stagger them as well, but obviously not from the front, considering we only have light armor penetration. The biggest difference between the Punisher and the Slugger right now is that the Slugger is still going to have that medium armor penetration and that single shot to it, whereas you get a bit more forgiving with the Punisher. It has that nice even spread to it, and this can be even more beneficial when it comes to facing off with pushing back those Brood Commanders or pushing back on those Devastators. And it feels really nice to be able to just kind of constantly hit some of these enemies and just keep pushing them back to stop them from being able to fire. And this can save some of your teammates, and it's got perfect distance to this. You could be straight across the map, being able to just hit with a few pellets of this and be able to stagger some of those medium bots, if not medium enemies, on either side of the fight, stop them from pushing up on your teammates, or just being able to basically shut them down and then quickly just eviscerate them when it comes to the overall damage output of this. As for right now, I believe the Punisher is definitely one of those weapons that you're going to see in the hands of a lot of people. It's definitely one I would highly suggest trying out right now. Obviously, there is a multitude of weapons that are going to be viable at this point. They have tried to nerf things and buff things to a point where we are working in synergy with the different weapons that we have available to us. They obviously don't want us to have the primary weapon as the main focus of DPS in the game. They want us to be utilizing that alongside with the stratagems, the support weapons, and our teammates above all else. But overall, with this patch, the Punisher has truly shined from this, and I am so happy to see it. I've really enjoyed this while leveling, and now that it has just a little bit more added on top of it, just that stagger and a bit more of that damage, it is feeling just right. But let me know down in the comments below if you're enjoying it as well, if this is something you're going to pick up, and we've got plenty more content to cover. We've got a lot of things to cover when it comes to some of these stratagems that have been improved. The laser cannon is better, the flamethrower is better. There is a multitude of things that have changed, and gameplay mechanics that feel a little bit different now. But in that same instance, if you'd like to see more of this content, hit that subscribe button. And if you'd like to see some of this content live, hit that link down in the description below. Follow me over at Twitch. We will be streaming daily. And on that note, hopefully this has helped you out, and Have a good one.